Hello everyone and welcome to another video. The Heartline Twister Coaster is a very unique coaster type in a lot of aspects. It cannot have turns, it changes direction with special transfer pieces and has a unique inversion type. Another unique aspect is that it has by far the worst stats of all coaster types in the entire game and maybe even of all rides. With this I mean that compared to the intensity and nausea rating, it has an absolutely terrible excitement rating. It's so bad that it makes it one of the worst coaster types in the game in my opinion. In terms of functionality, the Heartline coaster isn't quite the worst as it can still make a fair bit of money, but it's up there. In my top 5 worst coaster types video, I ranked it as the 4th worst in the game, with the mini suspended coaster being at number 1. The thing is though, the mini suspended coaster has a good reason for being bad, as that's just how that kind of coaster type works. It's more of a fusion between a car ride and a junior coaster rather than a proper roller coaster. The Heartline Twister Coaster though has no reason for being as bad as it is. It seems as though Chris Sawyer has a grudge against it because when he was young he was bullied by one or something. Let me illustrate how terrible the stats of the Heartline coaster are. Here we have Triple Corkscrew, which is a medium-sized pre-built corkscrew coaster. It has 5.7 excitement, 7.4 intensity and 3.3 nausea. This isn't particularly great, but that's not a surprise as the corkscrew coaster generally doesn't have the best EIN stats. However, compared to Big Twister, a medium-sized pre-built Heartline Twister coaster, it has amazing stats. Big Twister has a measly 3.4 excitement, a much higher 8.3 intensity and also a fairly high 5.4 nausea rating. For a more direct comparison, here is the pre-built Twicky Twister. On the left it is in its standard form as a Heartline Twister coaster, and on the right I have used cheats to change it to a corkscrew coaster. This way we have two identical coasters, but one uses the Heartline algorithm to calculate the EIN stats and the other one uses the corkscrew algorithm. The differences are staggering. The Heartline has 1.5 times the intensity and more than 2 times the nausea rating of the corkscrew coaster, but less than 2/3 of the excitement rating. How on earth is this possible? Well, the calculation of the EIN stats starts with the base stats of the coaster. Every coaster type starts off with the base number in each of its 3 stats. For the corkscrew coaster, these are 3 excitement, 0.5 intensity and 0.2 nausea. If you get no penalties, it is impossible for a coaster stats to be lower than this. Here is a list with the base excitement, intensity and nausea stats of 7 different coaster types. You will notice that the Heartline has the lowest base excitement rating on this list, and by quite a big margin. This isn't because of the coaster types that I picked, as the Heartline has the lowest base excitement rating of all coaster types with 1.4. In fact, the reverse freefall coaster has the second lowest with 2. This means that if everything else was the same, a Heartline Twister coaster will always have 1.6 less excitement than a corkscrew coaster. This actually explains the difference in the previous example almost perfectly, as there the difference is 1.72. The base intensity rating of the Heartline is 1.7, which isn't that high compared to some other coaster types. No, the insane intensity rating for the Heartline comes from something else, and that is the rest of the stats. For every stat like G-forces, number of turns, number of drops, ride length, etc., your coaster gets some excitement, some intensity and some nausea. This is where the extremely high intensity rating of the Heartline coaster comes from. To illustrate this, here is a table with the same 7 coaster types as before and how much EIN stats they get from G-forces normalized to the excitement rating. What this means is that if the corkscrew gets 1 excitement point from G-forces, it will also get 1.45 intensity and 2.02 nausea. Once again, the Heartline is at the bottom of the list with 1.82 intensity and a massive 3.64 nausea for every 1 point in excitement. It is like this for almost everything that a coaster gets EIN stats for. The Heartline gets a normal amount of excitement, but quite a bit more intensity, resulting in a comparatively high intensity rating. Combine this with a very low base excitement rating and the difference between excitement and intensity gets even larger. This all leads to another issue. Let's say you have a corkscrew coaster with 6 excitement and 8 intensity. If you want to make it more exciting, you can add more turns, drops and inversions, and as long as you don't add too much, the intensity rating will stay below 10. On a similar Heartline coaster you would have something like 4 excitement and 9.5 intensity. You can now barely add anything or you will get over 10 intensity, and that is a problem. Getting over 10 intensity means that you lose 25% of the excitement rating, and it makes guests significantly less likely to ride it, even if it is still within their preferred intensity range. This makes the limit for the excitement rating even lower. We're still not done, as there is one other aspect where the Heartline gets absolutely screwed, and that is decorations. This starts with the excitement bonus from having synchronized stations with another ride. All coaster types get at least 0.4 excitement bonus from having synchronized stations, except the Heartline, which only gets 0.2. For scenery, most coaster types have a multiplier between 5500 and 9000. First, it gets calculated how much scenery there is near the ride, and then somewhere along the way in the calculation it is multiplied with that number. That way, scenery can have different effects on different ride types. For example, the stand-up coaster has a multiplier of 5577. The inverted coaster has 8366 and the observation tower has 83,662. There is only one ride in the entire game that gets a lower boost from scenery than the stand-up coaster. Unsurprisingly, this is the Heartline coaster with a multiplier of only 3904. If we surround the Heartline and corkscrew version of Twister Coaster with scenery, we can see the practical effect of this. The corkscrew version gets 0.47 extra excitement, while the Heartline version only gets 0.25 extra excitement. The same goes for the bonus for interaction with other rides. The second lowest multiplier among roller coasters is 15,657, shared by a few inverted coaster types. The lowest is of course again the Heartline with only 9,841. Not only does the Heartline coaster have a naturally terrible excitement rating, you also can't patch it up as much with scenery and nearby other rides. All these issues combined make the Heartline have by far the worst excitement to intensity ratio of all coaster types in the entire game. It's so bad that while with every other coaster type I've been able to get more than 10 excitement, with the Heartline my record is only 7.29. I don't think that OpenRCT2 should change this though. Making the Heartline have better stats doesn't really add a lot to the game, and right now it's a great coaster type for memes. Also, if you change the stats of the Heartline, you might as well start rebalancing other things too, which ruins the spirit of the game. I do wonder why Chris Sawyer decided to make it this way, but I don't think that we'll ever know. If you found this insight into the inner workings of the Heartline Twister Coaster's terribleness interesting, consider giving this video a like or leave a comment. You can also subscribe or follow me on Twitch. Thank you all for watching and I will see you in the next video.